Welcome to the Brand Wise podcast, where we talk about the big branding moves that business owners are making and the why behind it. I'm your host, Jess Freeman, here to help you be wise and be bold. So excited to be talking with my friend Samantha today. We're going to be talking about email sequences and welcome sequences specifically. I feel like it's definitely underutilized in the health and fitness space, so I am very excited to talk about this. So Sam, to get us started, tell us, about what you do and all that fun stuff.
Sure thing. So my business is called Nomad Copy Agency, and if we break that down, I'm a nomad and a copywriter. So I spend about half the year in the US, where I'm from, and about half of the year traveling. That does not mean I'm on vacation half of the year. It just means I'm posted up somewhere. So right now, as we're recording, I'm in Buenos Aires, Argentina. I've been here for the last 3 months, and I'm preparing to go back to the US for summer and springtime. As a copywriter, my background is in sales. I was that like corporate Amex tech sales girly until 2019 when I wanted to go remote and my company said no. And I said, well, I've got a life that I want to live. And I decided to help people start selling online using their words. So that's copywriting, is the words that you use on the internet to sell. And that's what I've been doing for the last 6 years now.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, I love the I've got a life to live, so like I'm out.
Yeah, as with any
Cuz
major life decision, there was a lot that went into it, but that's ultimately what it came down to was, I'm never gonna be this young and hot again. I gotta get out there and see what's up.
exactly. I love it. Okay. So, welcome sequences. And often when I am working with clients and like we're launching a new site, they're like, "I'm also getting my email in order and like finally going to start emailing my list." I'm having to walk them through like, "Okay, do you have the forms? Do you have the confirmation email?" Like I don't actually like that's not part of my package, but I can't help but like, okay, but do you have this set up?
Right.
But I don't have the time or capacity to like also walk them through setting up a welcome sequence. Let's start. What's the difference between like a good welcome sequence and maybe like a great or amazing welcome sequence?
Okay, this is juicy because a good welcome sequence is going to cover all the bases, right? It's going to tell people who you are, why they should work with you, how to work with you, and it's going to have some of your personality in it. And you can get a good welcome sequence from like a template. I have one in my shop. That's not even a plug, but if somebody wants to go to nomadcopyagency.com, click on the shop button, there's one there. It's good. And this isn't to diminish my work or the work of anyone else, because oftentimes a template is going to get you further than where you would get on your own. But a great welcome sequence is going to be personalized. And there's some
Mm,
really easy ways to do this. One is by making assumptions about your people. So let's say that you are. So I'm a digital nomad. I work with a personal trainer. She's digital nomad fitness. So she could make assumptions about me of like in her welcome sequence rather than saying something like, welcome, my name's Riley. I help digital nomads. It's like she could make assumptions that, like, so you started digital nomading and thought it was a vacation, which meant that you were meeting people for beers 6 nights a week and your fitness got away from you, right? So she could just assume because that's what she's seen over and over. So she could make assumptions. Or what I've been seeing a lot of really great welcome sequences do is segment their audiences and have people self-identify, which does two things. It helps you be personalized and it helps you get some market research. So if your email service provider or ESP allows for tagging or segmenting, which I think at this point most mainstream paid plans
mm-hmm.
have, um, you can have people say, okay, so what are your fitness goals? Is to bulk up, lose weight. I just want to be stronger. I want to live longer. I just want to feel better in my body. And you could have it. And then the next email that you send to them has information specifically about those goals and you can tag them. It doesn't have to be a long, elaborate 16-week welcome sequence, etc. It's just enough information to be like, this is how I helped Jess bulk up for her last bodybuilding competition as the next email if they chose that they want to bulk up. So the difference between like a good one and a great one is a good one is going to be personalized. It's going to feel like you might have pictures of your face. A great one is going to feel like them is the difference.
I like that. So, how soon would you recommend? Are we like segmenting in the first email, the third? Like, where does that usually take place?
Um, that's a great question, and it always just comes down to, like, what your capabilities are. I feel like the sooner the better, because if I'm opting into a program, and then, like, way on down the road, they're asking me questions, it's like, well, I don't wanna walk into a, like, real life establishment and have somebody segment me later on, even as simple as, like,
Hmm.
if I walk into, like, an ice cream place and then they ask me after they've put all my toppings on if I'm vegan, like, what is the point here?
Uh-huh.
You wanna know the answers sooner so that you can serve people sooner. Also, open rates drop off significantly after people join your list. Typically,
Mm.
you're gonna see a 90% or higher open rate on the first email because they asked for it. They asked you to send them something. After that, it's gonna drop to 60 and then typically hovers between 40 and 50 after that for most small businesses. So and those are, like, good. That's, like, if you have a good
Hmm.
sequence. So if you're not asking people until later, there's only, like, a 50% chance they're even gonna see it, and then, are they gonna take the action to click? Are they bought in? Versus if you say, "Here's the
Mm.
thing that you asked for, and also, so that I can send you the best possible recommendations, are you looking to, like, bulk or cut?"
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there such a thing as like too much segmentation? Like we ask, okay, what's your goals for your fitness journey? And then should it just be that one time or like another 3 emails later I'm like, okay, well, have you done bodybuilding before? Or is this your first time? Or is that like we're asking too many questions? You're segmenting too much. Is that a thing?
Yeah, so it's all comes out to the execution. So I have a friend who her business is she's in branding as well, and theme of her branding company is a bar. And so she has people throughout her sequence, every single email is that you're building your custom cocktail. And it almost
Mm.
feels like one of those old BuzzFeed quizzes. It's really fun, but this is also very on brand for her. So the first one that you get and it gets dripped out like every couple days, but it's also smart, and so it, adds your cocktail together as you're going through it. So, you choose, like,
Nice.
your base liquor as your first one, and then a couple days later, it's like, "Well, what style are you? Are you on the rocks? Are you neat? Are you fruity? Are you whatever?" And so you're, like, building your brand cocktail, um
Mm.
as you go through, and so now I'm on, stage 4 of this, sequence, and it's like, "Okay, so I am whiskey on the rocks, served, like, in a fancy pants bar and, whatever." I'm building through.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's built this theme to it, though, it doesn't feel like she's just constantly peppering me with questions.
Mm.
And with each of those, just to make sure I'm clear, is like, I didn't choose whiskey because I like whiskey. I chose whiskey because she gave it all of these things of like, this means that your brand gives these vibes. So
Right.
if it's super relevant, then yeah, like keep peppering them with questions. But otherwise, and also understanding, like, what you need to know. So for her, she probably wants to know how her clients are identifying. Are they identifying as strong, fearless, like, cut out all the fluff brands? Or are they more of the, like, I don't know, like Parrot Bay Rum, where they're, like, conversational and social and whatever, and then she gets to know that about their brand. So it's not only about serving your audience, it's also about like what serves you. So I know that's not a direct answer to your question, but I don't want anybody to like back themselves into a corner by being like, I need to create something big and elaborate where I ask a lot of questions. I think as a baseline, if you're having people segment right away, and you understand what you're gonna use that information for. You know if they're beginners or if people are coming to you because they've been working out for a long time and they just want somebody to hold their hand or elevate what they already have. Um, then, like, one question right out of the gate could be enough for you to know which of your products you're gonna position for them and then continue the sequence from there. Or for
Mm-hmm.
her, she wants it to be this whole experience because her brand gives people a whole experience. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was
Yeah. No,
yeah.
that makes total sense. And really, like, I wanted you to basically say, like, there's not like an absolute right answer because I feel like a lot of times my clients are like, just tell me if it's, do I need to do this one time, two times, whatever. And I think it, like you said, it depends. I know there's someone listening who's probably like, okay, like this sounds great. I don't necessarily know what I would use those segments for, but I would say you should already like just go ahead and segment. Like I'm thinking of like a client who like she helps with women with like perimenopause and PCOS and like other similar things. And I'm
Mhm.
like, maybe she could segment based on kind of like, what are you looking for help with? And even if she doesn't know right now what she's doing with this segmented information, I feel like it would still be beneficial so that in 3 months, 6 months, a year, she's like, great, I know that this group of people on my list are needing help with PCOS. I feel like we shouldn't wait to figure out, because like it's for those who haven't done segmenting, it doesn't really do anything. Like when you click, hey, I need help with XYZ, or I'm here to like lose weight, it's not doing anything other than just like tagging that person in your system. Unless you've already set up automation, like it's not going to do anything. So you can just go ahead and segment them and then like nothing will change until the future.
Right, and it can be so helpful for when, like, a year from now, you have a really great launch or a flopped launch, and you realize, "Oh, that's because," like, in your example of, like, perimenopause and PCOS, like, "That's because I was going in on this pain point of PCOS, but it turns out that that was only the biggest problem for 10% of my audience." Or,
Mm-hmm.
"I'm feeling really inspired about this PCOS stuff." Well, then you need to go out and find people who are identifying with PCOS and create a lead magnet that gets them onto their list because they have PCOS, so that they're identifying that if that's the kind of people that you want to work with and attract. So, having a little bit more data is never a bad thing, and it doesn't mean that you have to go all out with content. It just means, like, start getting that information so that you can make, like, we always hear about data-based decision making, and it's like, what does that
Mm-hmm.
mean? It just means, like, knowing stuff. That's it. Like, it's just
Yeah.
knowing.
It's just knowing, like actually knowing the information and not just assuming like, oh, everyone on my list needs help with PCOS and then realizing, oh wait, no, that's actually very few people who like that are on my list. So that's really helpful. So you mentioned earlier about how engagement drops off after the first email because like obviously I signed up, I want this email, yes, like keep me here, but then the open rates may decline as time goes on. So I'm curious what tips you have for keeping people engaged beyond that first email, first month, like whatever it is, when they're on our list.
Yeah, yeah. Couple things would be increasing your click-through rates so people are, or sorry, increasing your open rates so people are actually opening your emails and then can choose to engage with what's inside of them. And then with the what's inside of them, so often, and a lot of templates do this, including the one that I sell, there's like the, oh, let me introduce myself email. And I think that's where people really start to drop off because it doesn't matter to them. It's not hyper relevant anymore.
Mm,
So while it might be great that you've been on your fitness journey for a zillion years and that this is your epiphany moment and whatnot, how does that relate to your people? And
mm,
how can you keep them engaged? So if there's one that has really low like click throughs, first of all, okay, let me take a step back. An open rate is directly affected by how good your subject line is. Your click through rate
mm-hmm,
is directly affected by how good your calls to action are. And too often people say, well, there's, I don't want to be salesy. And first, my question for them is, why are you in business then if you don't want to be selling? And if you don't want to be super salesy, how can you still position solutions? Because people are not coming to you to learn about your fitness journey. They're coming to you to learn about their fitness journey. So if you're saying, this is my fitness journey. I first tried CrossFit. Click here to read about that whole experience. And it's just clicking out to your blog. It's keeping people engaged and seeing what people want to click on. Um, and then too often we put that call to action in plain text and just hyperlink it at the bottom of an email. People click on buttons at a 3 times higher rate than what people click on links, and the higher up in your email that button is, the higher the chance it's gonna get clicked. So when we look at how do we keep people engaged, if you have an existing email sequence, I encourage you to go back and look at the ones with the lowest clicks and see where those buttons are, if there are buttons at all, because you're gonna have a 0% click-through rate if there's nothing for them to click on, nothing for them to engage
Mhm.
with. And then that might be a good email for you to get them to take an action, to re-engage with. If it is really low, say maybe that is where you put your next tag or segmenting and say, without saying, "Hey, I see that nobody clicks through this email," like, that this information might not be hitting. It's like, you could say something like, "In addition to all this information about PCOS, what's the second most important thing to you?" And then that's where
Mm.
you reengage and perhaps tag them over to another couple of emails or just gather that information and just get them to feel like they're being listened to is gonna continue that
Mhm.
engagement. Um, it's kind of like how we find that one coffee shop in town and then just keep going back to it because it was quiet enough for you to listen to a podcast and get some work done at the same time. Same thing on the internet. If people have already engaged with an email, they're going to go back and keep engaging with those emails because they've gotten value from them before, even if that value is just feeling heard by being able to click a button.
Mhm. I am definitely guilty of doing hyperlinks over buttons.
Mhm.
So now you've given me something to go work on and test and change out some links to turn them into buttons.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, buttons, they also have to stand out, right? So use the
Yes.
brightest of your brand colors. Also think about how they're going to look when people are looking at your phone in night mode is a big one.
Mm.
So a lot of times like a lime green, bright yellow, pink, it's going to show up on a black or a white background and then higher up in the email and make them super actionable. So rather than saying like click here on your button, it's like start your fitness journey, become
Mm.
fearless.
Mhm.
Ditch
Yeah.
ditch
I
the
like
PCOS symptoms. Like, your what's on the button is literally what your people desire because nobody wants another PDF. What they want is
mm.
solutions, and if you put that solution on the
Mhm.
button, they're way more likely to get engaged with.
Mhm. Yeah, no one wants the PDF. And like in theory, yes, they want what's in the PDF, but like making it more actionable. That's something I constantly have to remind clients with when it comes to buttons on websites and just reminding them like, no, we need to, we need to make this sound a little more engaging,
Mhm.
a little more. Okay, so we talked about welcome sequences, keeping them engaged. I also want to talk a little bit about using your email list when it comes to clients as
Mhm.
well, because we can still keep people engaged that way. So I want to talk about re-engaging people because maybe we have clients, they kind of fall off because of vacation or like finances. That's, a real concern. Or just like, fall off for whatever reason. How can we use our email list to like re-engage them without shaming them? Because I feel like when people think about like, okay, I'm gonna like do this other sequence or send out some emails to get people to sign up again. I think the default, thanks to like a lot of bro marketers, is to shame them into like, oh, you fell off and now you've gained 10 pounds, you've fallen back into your old ways, like, which is not the approach that I think a lot of people want to take.
Yeah.
So, what advice do you have?
Yeah, so there's an analogy of the carrot and the stick, and the idea is that you're trying to get, I think it's a rabbit to run a race. What's gonna be more effective? Hitting it with a stick to get it to keep going, or having a carrot, like, tied on a collar that's, like, dangling right in front of it? What's it gonna do? You want the carrot, and that's, like, the foundation of positive psychology, and, um, every every buying decision that people make is an emotional one. But the most inspired and highest ticket decisions that people make have to do with their potential, not their past. So while
Hmm.
it is the default to understand what people's problems are, and you do need to understand what their problems are, you need to understand that they might be feeling ashamed that they took 10 steps back in their fitness journey, that they might already be feeling this way. How can you take those feelings, though, and show them their potential? And that is where people make their buying decisions. And I mean, even if you look at like a house, you're not going to buy a house because it doesn't have leaky plumbing. You're going to buy a house because it feels really good and really secure to be inside of this house. Same thing with anything having to do with like health, wellness, nutrition. People aren't going to buy not being sick. They're going to buy being healthy and the potential that that gives them. So, ways to do that in marketing are to understand that they're probably already feeling those ways and that you don't necessarily need to name them, but showing them their potential of saying, it's normal for people to yo yo a little bit. It happens when you've had 35 years of these habits that are finally kicking you in the butt. Going on a 2-week vacation or taking the summer off and defaulting to that is exactly what I would expect. Now, if you want the next 35 years to look different, now is the time to start building on those habits because the next time, like a year from now, you'll wish you had started today, kind of thing. So, understanding what I encourage people to do is take a piece of paper or your iPad and make 3 columns, 2 lines. One is a list of all of their problems in the far left column. And then you just tie that to a solution. So they're feeling ashamed is their problem. What is their ideal solution? Not necessarily the solution that you offer. What is their ideal solution? And you do that for each problem and each solution. Then you go through and circle the solutions that you do offer. You might not be able to help them with feeling really great in one way, but you can help them feel great in another way, and that's tied to that
Mhm.
problem. And then what happens after they've received your solution, right? Because some people are gonna help people feel really great because they're dietitians or nutritionists. Some people are gonna help people feel really great because they're gonna help them get really strong. Some people are gonna help them cut. Some people are gonna help them whatever. So you circle your solutions to those problems, and then what happens after you've gotten that solution is not so you're not selling workout plans. You're not selling diet plans. You're not selling that. You're selling the feeling that happens after. And when you lean into that transformation, and this is a tricky word, especially in health and wellness, is transformation does not mean before and after pictures. It's the
Mhm.
transformation is what happens within them and outside of them. How is their family affected? How are the things that are most important to them affected? And when you can say you're gonna sleep better at night, you're not gonna feel that pain from PCOS. You're gonna know how to manage that pain from PCOS, and you're gonna do it without falling back down the mental rabbit hole of I can't do this, because you know that a week of vacation doesn't ruin your entire plan for your health journey. Um, and when you speak to that third column of transformation, so we've got problem, solution, what happens as a cause of the solution is transformation. That solution is where you wanna sell from.
Mm. I love this. I love the like visual of like the 3 columns and talking about the like I could like literally see that list in my head. So I think that was really practical. So thank you for sharing that because I think that's really handy. And I also like the reminder of all the things that transformation could mean because I know for a lot of my dietitian clients, they are anti-diet, anti like weight loss.
Mhm,
And so they do struggle sometimes to share that transformation. Now, for some, like I know like some of my PCOS dietitians, it is easier to share the like if they have something niche like that, whether it's gut health or PCOS, it's like, oh, my client stopped experiencing X, Y, and Z. But then so for some of my generalist, it can be more difficult to like articulate if they're like, well, I don't want to do this before and after picture. So I think what you called out as some of these other things that can be transformational for their clients. And in my head, I'm like, then they need to like put some of those questions in their like testimonial form with
mhm,
clients.
yeah,
So
and some
yeah,
of the
that was
best
really
ways
good.
to get that language and know how to talk about it is to ask your past clients. So,
Mm-hmm.
this is not necessarily my area of expertise, but any great copywriter is gonna ask you for surveys so that we can get
Mm-hmm.
client voice, and you should be asking your people Yeah, again, that micro question right when they get on your list of like, what do you struggle with the most? Okay, great. Then when they become a client, why did you join? And then a month
Mhm.
in, what have you seen happen so far? And even if people are offboarding with you, which we hate to see clients go, but it happens, of like, I want to know, like you mentioned, was it because you're going on vacation, you're not feeling motivated anymore? Like, and you can tell them, like, I'm not going to use this against you. I just want to know, like,
Mhm.
why is this ending? Um,
Yes.
and then that helps you speak their language. It helps you know where you need to pivot. It helps you know where you need to market. But yeah, using their language, because too often people are gonna say like use their like dietitian, like incredibly informed language.
Mhm.
And it's like, but if people are just saying like, actually, I just like hate bananas and I don't know why you had me eating so much fruit, like then that can be part of your
Mhm.
marketing is like, or, like build muscle without chugging 6 protein shakes a day. Because
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what Jessica said that like the biggest transformation was that I was the first dietitian that didn't make her chug a bunch of protein shakes, right? So
Mhm.
you can use your client's language as that transformation language when you're servicing them.
Yes.
So you have to ask.
Mm.
It feels vulnerable, but you
Mhm.
have to do it.
You do. And even if I would even take it a step further, if you're like, oh, well, I haven't reached out to any of my past clients. I just don't really like have a system for getting testimonials. And like, so I don't really have any, even though I've worked with so many people, like whatever. I would say even to set up like market research calls, like whatever you want to call them, and just talking to like actual past clients, just people in your community, like getting that client voice is so, so good for your copy, both in your emails, on your website, on social, like all of it is very, very helpful. So I think that was another good kind of task for us to do. The next thing I want to talk about is so we've talked about the welcome sequence, re engaging clients, but I know there's probably somebody listening who's like, I haven't emailed my list in like a year. And so, do you recommend like just starting that, like setting up a welcome sequence and start like sending that? Or do you send like one kind of re engagement email, like, hey, I'm back? Do you acknowledge that you were gone for a year? Like, what are your thoughts there?
My take on this is that if you didn't announce your departure, nobody's gonna notice your arrival. So, I
Mm,
follow a copywriter who a couple years ago, she was on Survivor, and she was like an every week emailer, and she told her list because she couldn't disclose where she was, like, actually going. So she told her list, like, "I've been working really hard. I'm taking 3 months off this summer to spend with my kid." And she did. She announced her departure and then she announced her re-arrival. It was no surprise when it was like, "Where'd she go?" And then, like, now she's back.
mm,
And then a couple months later, she was like, "Now that I can talk about this, like, I lied to you
mm-hmm.
last summer. I was on Survivor." But she announced it because she left with intention. So if you're not leaving with intention, it's fine. But, like, I don't necessarily think that you need to re-engage and, like, tell them that you're back. What I do think you need to do is remind them of who you are and why they joined in the first place. Potentially, couple of ideas for those first few emails would be, like, redrop the freebie that they joined with and say, like, "Hey, you were on my list because you downloaded this thing." An opportunity for another tagging or survey and say, "Is this still top of mind for you? Yes,
Mm,
PCOS and managing my pain is still top of mind for me." Or and then like 3 no's, like, "No, I haven't managed. No, I have bigger issues. No, I have whatever." So you can have them re-engage and then send an email based on what they identified as their biggest problem that you solve. Um, Another option for an email would be, um, like, just kind of sliding back with other value. Regardless of how you do it, I recommend having a picture, a logo, and a resource inside of that email. And I'll give you an example. A couple weeks ago, I started getting emails from Sarah. I don't know who Sarah
great,
is.
great.
See Sarah's face in the email. I did not know why I downloaded her thing in the first place. And it was these like long, it was launch emails, but it was these like long emails about, like, her life and stuff and, like, things that she had learned in business, but it wasn't super specific, and I was like, "I don't know who Sarah is. Did I meet her at a conference? Did I download her thing? Did I illegally get
Mhm.
on her list?" I have no stinking clue. So give people breadcrumbs if you're gonna
Mhm.
re-engage of, like, you can be as obvious as saying, "Hey, you downloaded this a year ago, wanted to drop it by," or you can say, "Hey, this is what I'm working on coming up. What's most relevant to you?" But yeah, give me your face, give me your logo, give me a link so I can land on your website and be like, "Oh, this Sarah,"
Mhm.
would be
Mhm.
really helpful. Because we've all heard of, like, the Irish exit, but, like, the Irish entrance is weird. I'm just like, "Are you
Mhm.
at a party?"
Yeah, I have my default footer for all of my emails is just a little like 2 lines. It's like, "Who is this email from?"
Mhm.
And it says like, "Hey, I'm Jess. I run Jess Creatives. I help people." And then like so you can click to my website, YouTube, or Instagram. So you can like, "Oh, okay, that person."
Yes.
That's in every single email. Like even though I have a small list, I have really good open rates. I just know that like one, then there's always a link to like other places to connect with me.
Mhm.
And then two, they can like, wait, who is this? Where did I join this list? You know?
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Just make it
it's
super
easy.
easy is the goal.
Yeah.
And, like, if we
Yeah.
take this to, like, a local example, like, if you were to walk into a gym after a year, would you recognize the front desk person? Would you,
Mm.
like, what if they moved all the equipment around and repainted everything and switched the men's and women's locker rooms and, like, just give people a familiar place to fall, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll be alright. And also, like, yes, you can expect a lot of unsubscribes and, like, a really low open rate for those first few emails, so just send a few of them. Like, let the people see
Mm-hmm.
themselves out, figure out who is opening your emails or not, and then just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. My last question is more broad, just like all emails, any email. What is like your best little tip advice for writing better copy for the emails? I know sometimes people get really in their head about like, oh, I'm writing an email and like I need to like sell this thing, but I don't want to be salesy and I need to like connect and I need like there's like so I feel like people just get in their head about like, oh, I'm writing an email. So, what's your best advice as a copywriter?
My best advice is think about the people reading the email, which sounds like a really, really simple thing to do. But think about it. Like, are they on their phones? Is this like, do they check their emails when they're on the treadmill at the end of a workout? Or for example, my brother is a union painter. He works on construction sites. That man checks his email only when somebody tells him to go look at his email. So are your people in an industry or a job where they're not by their emails all the time, whereas because you're an online worker, you are on your emails all the time? Are they checking it? Like, too often I see this messaging to, like, busy moms, and it's like, that's redundant, first of all. Moms are busy. But are
Yes.
they checking their email, hopefully while parked, in the school pickup line? So they're
Mm.
just seeing something really briefly. Or are your folks in their 50s and 60s set aside their time to sit down at their desktop each day because that's like how they came into email in the first place and that's where they're comfy with it. So what that then tells us is those busy moms need like 20 words to tell them like, "Hey girl, we have a meeting next week. This is how you get on my
Mhm.
calendar." Or is it this other audience that's spending more time with their computers and they want your full life story? And they want to read this and they want to connect a little bit more. So when you understand that, then it gets you off the hook a lot of the times for writing the big long email that puts a lot of pressure on you because you know your people just want to understand why you're emailing them, what they need to do, and how to get out of there so that they can check it off their list. Um, so yeah, ultimately, think about the person on the other side of it, understanding that they don't want your life story, but they do want to get value out of it. And sometimes that value is just a giggle. So if you do tell them a personal story, like do that for sure. It's what makes us human. It's what gives us something to connect to. I'll call out that a lot of people write their first drafts with AI, but regardless of how you write the first draft of your email, if you include yourself and your brand in that email, it's gonna come off a lot less robotic, and people are gonna want to connect with you in return because you've given them a piece of yourself. So, think about your people. Don't be afraid to tell a story. And it really, if you're writing it in Google Docs first, probably doesn't need to be more than like a page long. So keep it simple.
I like that. Good advice. This has been so good. I like so many practical takeaways and just good nuggets. Where can we connect with you? And I know you have a free
I do.
tool to also mention, so I want to make sure that you share that with everybody.
Yeah. So I have an opt-in page copy bot, which is a custom GPT that you can download for free. It's at nomadcopyagency.com slash, hold on, let me restart that because it's brand wise. I was going to say Just Creatives. Um, You can cut that out. Yes, I have a custom AI written copy bot that helps you write your opt-in page, which is that page that you host your freebie on. You can find that at nomadcopyagency.com/brandwise, and that'll be in the show notes. If you're a social person, you can find me on Instagram at nomad.copy, and I'm on I'm on LinkedIn as Samantha Burmeister.
Awesome. I will have all those links so you guys can check it out, get her opt in and copy bot, and connect with Sam. But thank you again for being here.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to talk to you.
Are you a squiggle or a square? Go to justcreatives.com/quiz to find out where your brand ends up and find out what a square or squiggle even means. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to leave a review or share it on Instagram and tune in next week for another episode.